Hey Jet fans, it finally happened. The Jets made the signing. They did it. They got Bilal Powell back. I'm just kidding. We signed a GM, Joe Douglas. It's awesome. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to JetsHq. I'm Howie. Glad that you could be back with me today. Very happy day. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but really wanted to take your time with this. I didn't rush this video out. I didn't want to do just a quick, hey, guess what? We signed this guy and peace out. I wanted to actually do a little bit of research, talk about some stuff that was substantive, so I held back, held my horses, put this together for you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for joining back with me again today. It's been a little while. I kind of was on a little bit of a self-imposed silence until we got this GM thing straightened out. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad that we were successful in our GM search. But what I said at the beginning is still technically true, so let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about it. We did re-sign Bilal Powell, our beloved running back since 2011. Powell, if you recall, he was a fourth-round pick for the Jets out of Louisville in 2011, and he grew to become a very, very stable, reliable workhorse until last year. After 7 games, he had what seemed to be a career-ending neck injury. So glad to see that Bilal is back and that his neck is healed, and at least he's going to get a shot. Of course, you know, it's a cheap deal. It's a short-term deal, and it helps to bolster what is already a very strong position in depth. So it's nice to have him there as an option. Of course, nothing's guaranteed. Really don't know if there's enough room for him to make the team, but at least he's going to get a chance to show that he's back and that he's healthy, and I'm glad that he's going to get that opportunity in camp. I mean, you know, sitting already behind, Le'Veon Bell, Ty Montgomery, McGuire, Cannon. It's a tough position to hold your position in. So we'll give him a shot and welcome him back. And I'm glad for any depth the Jets can add, especially at a reasonable price. So that's a good thing. Now, on to the general manager position. The Jets did it. They finally did sign Joe Douglas from the Eagles as their general manager, and we're really proud to say that we were successful in that search. Now, unfortunately, I have to say that I wasn't offered the position. I probably would have worked for at least half of what Mr. Douglas is earning, but I think they made the right choice. I think they did a very good job. I think that, to be honest with you, from what I understand, especially going in depth and reading a lot about what's been reported, especially from first-hand accounts, we almost lost this candidate. Well, he was ready to say no. In fact, he did say no several times, and I believe that negotiations were almost lost over a little bit. Well, what I would consider a little bit, but who knows what a little bit is. But they were almost lost over the compensation, and I believe that what finally tipped this over the edge, after Mr. Douglas had said no for the last time, was that when the Texans actually fired their GM Brian Gain, and they started their notification to the public that they were going to be looking for a GM, the Jets quickly, finally made the decision to just give Douglas the money that he had been asking for and get him signed before the Texans stepped in and really stole this candidate from us. So whatever it takes, I'm glad that it was done. You don't ever want to see any animosity between a person in the front office when they start off. I don't think that there's any animosity. Everybody knows that this is business. Business is business. Money is money, and he's got his. He played, hardball, and he won. So I hope he plays hardball with the rest of the league and our roster so that we can get this thing straightened out. So it's good to see. Obviously, the man has some negotiating skills, and he showed them to Christopher Johnson right off the bat, so that's really good. All right, so Douglas was just recently the Eagles vice president of player personnel, and even before Mike McCagnon was fired, he was thought of as a person that could take over or was the number one candidate on everybody's mind for a GM position. When Maccagnan was fired, the first name out of everybody's mouth for this position was Joe Douglas. So I'm really glad to see that it was a good fit. Looking very much forward to seeing what he can do. He did get control over the 53-man roster. He did get control over the draft, signing, trading, all that stuff. So even though the Jets have a very unusual corporate structure where the general manager and the head coach aren't over each other, they're kind of equals, and they both report to the CEO separately. But the decision for the 53-man roster and player personnel decisions has been placed on the GM's table here. I think that's the right place for it to be. Adam Gase said he didn't want it, and he's obviously telling the truth because he was one of the ones involved in this search to get the GM signed. So if he gave that away, hey, more power to him. He was telling the truth, and he's willing to live up to this part of the bargain where Douglas will be able to make those decisions. And I'm sure he's not going to make those decisions unilaterally, and I know he and Gase are friends, so it's just good to see that they're already starting off well, being able to work together. Obviously, the last time they worked together was in 2015, the Chicago Bears. Douglas was the director of scouting, and Gase was the offensive coordinator for the Bears that year, and they had a good working relationship back then. So that was useful information. It's good that they have that working relationship and that they're going to reestablish that now. In order to get this job, the Jets did interview other people. When I did my other video on who the top candidates would be, we did hit on Champ Kelly, the Chicago Assistant Director of Player Personnel. So he was interviewed, and he would have been a great candidate as well. I'm sure that he's going to make a great GM somewhere. Obviously, Joe Douglas was a better candidate, but I think that it's not long before Champ Kelly is a GM somewhere, and deservedly so. So he was interviewed. Terry Fontenot from the New Orleans Saints, he's the Director of Pro Scouting, and he was interviewed as well. Scott Fitterer from Seattle, the Director of Player Personnel, was our last interview. So we interviewed 4 people that we know of. I'm not sure if there was any secret interviews, but those were the 4 guys that were interviewed in public. The interview dates were known. They were brought in. Of course, Joe Douglas was wined and dined a little bit more than everybody else. I'm pretty sure that everybody knew he was our number 1 pick. But we got him, so good deal. Now, just as a recap, he was one of the instruments that was that helped build the Eagles into the 2017 Super Bowl champions. Joe was Howie Roseman's right-hand man. Howie Roseman was the executive vice president of football operations for the Eagles, and they put that roster together. And they also put together the trade that ended up getting them Carson Wentz. So he didn't have a lot to work with in the draft since they traded a lot of their draft capital away to get Carson Wentz, but he was obviously one who knows that a franchise quarterback was imperative in the anchoring of that team's roster, and now he's got the same thing over here. As a matter of fact, he's in a much better position. We have a lot more draft capital than the Eagles did going forward because of that trade. We were already past that point where we've suffered the consequences of the trade for Sam Darnold, and we're gonna buck up and deal with it. But we've going forward, we've got all of our draft capital, or most of it, and we can't wait to see what Joe Douglas is going to do with it. Also, obviously, just before Douglas came to this job, before he accepted the job, his last act with the Eagles was to renegotiate a contract with Carson Wentz for the Eagles, and they got that done. So they've got a new 4-year contract for Carson Wentz, and he got that done over there one day, and then a couple days later, he's over here taking the mantle for the Jets. So I think that's something to really look forward to. The guy's obviously a proven winner. He's a proven negotiator. He's a hard nose. He can play hardball, and looking forward to seeing him do that for us. Before he was on the Eagles, he did work for the Bears. We know that's where he and Gase met, and before that, he was a Ravens front office executive. Now, he had been with the Ravens between 2000 and 2015 in a range of positions. He was their national scout. He was a Southeast area scout, a East Coast area scout, a Northeast area scout. So he was a scout all over for the Ravens. And then obviously to start off with, he was a player personnel assistant. So, I mean, the guy has brought coffee to people. He's flown all over the country to scout players and moved up and learned his craft in the front office over time between 2000 and present with the Ravens, the Bears, and the Eagles. So, want to welcome. Now, this is the greatest part. I went a little bit further back. I didn't want to just know about his working experience in the front office. I want to know where he came from. You know, I've looked at some pictures of Joe Douglas, and this is a fairly stout dude. This is a big guy. So I'm like, what's his actual football experience? And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Douglas was an offensive tackle. He played 45 straight games for the University of Richmond, and he was an All-Atlantic 10 selection. So the man has chewed some turf, and just the mere fact that he's an offensive tackle really excites me, because we have a terrible offensive line, and we finally have a general manager that was an offensive tackle. This is extremely exciting to see that if he's going to put some resources into building that offensive line. This is where he comes from. This is where he lived. So very, very, very excited to see that this man was an offensive tackle. And not only that, but a good one. All-Atlantic 10 selection, 45 straight games. I'll take that. Looking forward to you fixing that offensive line, Mr. Douglas. Now, one last aside about Joe. He had a teammate at the University of Richmond. I thought this was pretty funny too. But Todd McShay was actually his teammate at the University of Richmond. And believe it or not, there are reports that Todd McShay might come in to the Jets front office in a scouting or draft preparation kind of role. So that's actually pretty exciting. I think that Todd McShay has a lot of experience starting all the way back then, and he's been doing scouting and draft prep all the way through since that time. And he's obviously a friend of Joe Douglas, so he might be asked to come into the Jets front office. I think that's a cute little tidbit. I think that might actually be very useful. I mean, I don't know if I'd invite Mel Kiper into the front office, but I don't know. Todd McShay, he's chewed a little turf. He knows our GM. Seems to be there might be something there. So I would welcome that kind of a move. I don't think that it's a gimmick. I think he would only take the job if it was for real. And I'd like to see maybe some brains behind our draft for a change. So I wouldn't mind that at all. So that's a little extra something for you guys to chew on. I thought that was a great little tidbit that I came across. I definitely had to share that one. So anyway, thank you guys very much. I want to remind you, please, to remember to like and subscribe to the videos. So please ring the bell for notifications. And I'm back. I'll be back with a vengeance. I'm very happy about this. I wanted to go ahead and thank a subscriber for sending in a couple of pictures. I'll show them here for you now. My fan Jay Mowdy sent me some of his kids' pictures with in their Jets jerseys on game day, and I told him that I would put them up if he sent them in. So you guys, there will be a link in the description below for you guys to send me some pictures. You can send me whatever you want. If I think that it's a nice, cool something or other Jets related, I'll try to make it appear in the next video. So please do that. So thanks to Jay Mowdy. One more last look. Good pictures, nice kids, very nice picture. I'm proud of you guys. I like the Muhammad Wilkerson retro jersey. Of course, the Joe Namath jersey is always a favorite of mine. So well done, children. Keep up the good work, and I hope the Jets give you a lifetime of happiness, rooting for them, maybe a little bit more successfully than some of our other lifetimes have been that have been Jet fans here. So anyway, there's going to be another link in the description below for anybody who wants to help support the channel. Any donations are appreciated. I will try to read all the donations on the videos to thank you guys if there's anybody who wants to help support the channel. I want you to remember, this is a labor of love. Do not get anything to do this. So any little bit helps to keep it going. What I do plan on doing is keeping a running total. You guys are going to see the top 3 donators to the channel, and I'm going to keep a running total through the regular season. And the top 3 donators over the whole regular season, starting from today, will receive a special prize. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be cool. I'm thinking maybe signed autographed pictures or something from players or something like that. But whatever it is, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm not going to probably just do some random T-shirt or something. Probably something of substance. So I want to thank anybody who helps to support the channel, and I think that would be kind of fun to do. So I want to thank the most recent, actually. I did get a couple. So I want to thank Jetman1982. I want to thank Chief Mike, and I want to thank Chris Almer for the donations. It's much appreciated. It's very, very helpful, and it does let me know that you guys are there and want to see more content. So I really appreciate that very much. So thanks again to everybody. I'll be back soon. We'll be doing another video as camp progresses. We'll be talking about that. Of course, if the Jets sign or release any big names, I'll be here. We'll be doing that as well. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate all the support. And remember, as always, let's go Jets.